EU foreign ministers are meeting in Brussels later today to discuss how to monitor and enforce the embargo. Well, for more on the situation inside Libya, we're joined now by RGKhouri, a senior fellow at the American University of Beirut. Thank you very much for joining us. Some of the language that was used there, saying this arms embargo is hanging by a thread. Why isn't it working? Who's still sending arms and what's their motivation for doing so?
A lot of countries are still sending arms, and it's the same ones who have met in Geneva last week and are meeting in Germany today. These are countries in Europe, the Arab world, Russia, Turkey, and they just really don't have any agreement on stopping the fighting. They say the nice things they're supposed to say, but they've just never been able to either fully achieve a ceasefire or reduce the flow of arms or even monitor the flow of arms coming into the country. And they've never fully been able to stop the flow of illegal migrants and refugees and asylum seekers who are going to Europe, increasingly from Libya now.
My apologies. It was the ceasefire that she said was hanging by a thread. But why is the international community apparently just absolutely failing to enforce the commitments that they all collectively made?
I think it's just the nature of modern statehood in a slightly chaotic world where the rules of international law are gradually breaking down, not just because of what the Trump administration has done, but this happened some years ago. Europe, for instance, has been unable to do anything serious about the Arab-Israeli conflict or other issues that it has had to address. It's very difficult to get so many countries to agree on a foreign policy and implement it. And what happens in the end is that the national interest of a country, whether it's strategic or energy or financial or just prestige or dreams of previous imperial glory, these take precedent over any kind of commitment to international law. And we're seeing that happening all over the place. And particularly with the U.S. drive under Trump to basically throw out any semblance of international law or UN resolutions. So you're seeing the Turks, the Russians, the Emiratis, the Saudis, people, and including some Europeans, France and Italy are involved in Libya. People are just paying lip service to their legal commitments and moral commitments and doing what they think is right for them because they know there's nobody there who's going to stop them.
If they're just paying lip service, what would it take for meaningful peace to actually become a priority? What would have to change?
The players on the ground would have to come to some sort of agreement, and they've indicated before that they're sort of ready to do that. They've met several times, and they've had all kinds of mediation, serious mediation, but there's no sign of that happening. And it's a chicken and egg. The players on the ground aren't ready to really stop the fighting because they know that they're able to count on international support, both political and military support. So what you're seeing here really is a bigger problem with two sides to it, both of which are frightening. One is the essential collapse of some states in the Arab world that were created like about 100 years ago or so, and they're falling apart. And what you're seeing also is the inability of Europe, the other end of this gruesome bookend, the inability of Europe, which has some very impressive states, being unable to come together and agree on a policy, even something so important to them as reducing the flow of illegal migrants. So we have a real problem of statehood and the nature of statehood in the modern world.